right. Want to say welcome to it. Want to say welcome. Woo! Wow, what a journey it's been. We are smack in 2020 new, as I like to call it. I want to say welcome to everyone for. Hey, this has been. It's been a while. It's been a while. Let me just say that it's been a while. For those of you who understand the technology and how it's done, you can do a lot of these and have them like rest down. But it's good to be back live because you all would have been seeing or hearing, I should say, just audio. That is because we've been sharing with you guys a subsequent podcast that we both do, which is on Intentional Talk Radio, which is going beautiful as well. But we're back home, for want of a better word. We are back home. So, welcome.
Welcome to everyone, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Back on home soil, the soil that we love, the soil that we toiled on. We took all the backhoes and we graded it and we seeded it and we put all the the fertilizers and all of that good stuff to have this corn crop reach full fruition where we can now sell corn. So we've been selling corn across the globe. So the corn sellers are here.
Yes, we are. And I think I like the fact that you started with welcome to 2020 new. And I saw something today that said 20 plenty you or 20 plenty new. So I'm like, okay, good. I could work with that because it sort of adds a little more vigor to what you've been saying already. So I was happy to read that. So 20 plenty new. And it's good for us to perhaps talk about resolutions and whether we make them or not, and how we can go about doing things differently in this time, because now of course we're still smack dab in the middle of a pandemic, and in some instances for some people it's probably a little bit worse because now you're really into the reality of having to be at home, and you were thinking, okay, this will probably last a year, and we've gone past that, and okay, we're getting to the 2-year mark. Perhaps now we really need to start doing things differently, and because we're well into 2020 new, we may want to consider what are some of the goals that we have. If people had resolutions, they're probably not even trying to work on those anymore because we've had a couple of shockers for this year in terms of deaths and, a couple of things that have happened and so on. So, we want to move past that and think of how we can begin again and begin more intelligently. So, did you have any resolutions?
No. We don't do resolutions over on this side. We kind of... we change up the things a little bit. We've been working on our somewhat of a vision board where we're trying to see things that we have to accomplish and holding each other accountable. And I try to extend it into most of the spaces I frequent. And I even found myself doing it in the studio. Went to the studio a couple of times, and for those of you, I like to get personal on the show to let the listeners kind of have an insight. I've been doing over the course of mid-November of last year. And moving forward, I had some dental work being done. It's been doing in stages. So because of that, recording has been a little task in terms of getting recording work done properly. Well, I should say where I'm comfortable recording. So in doing so, I've been in the studio plenty. More so than I should be normally, because what should normally take like 2 sessions is taking 5 for me because of the situation. But using the opportunity to spread the message and try and encourage young producers, young songwriters to try and think outside the box, do things differently for 2020 new, as I say. Try and envision what you want for yourself, for your music. Start telling yourself that you are the greatest producer. You are Grammy Award winning producer. Start giving yourself that energy, patting yourself on the back a little bit, because I honestly believe that words of affirmation, self-affirmation is healthy. A lot of people look at it as being cocky, and some people try to misguide it down a road of narcissism. But once someone is doing it within a healthy space, I don't think it's bad, because if you're not offending anybody, like I saw a quote somewhere, when people keep writing, a lot of people had it up over the Christmas and going into the new year. If you see me in 2022 wailing and having a good time, and whatever I'm doing not affecting you, be happy for me.
Okay.
When you really think about it, if somebody is doing something that's not really directly affecting you, why it is we as human beings tend to always go for the negative. Like, it's like you are
Right.
upset that somebody's happy or somebody's doing what they
Yes.
want to do. If
Yes.
somebody decide to spend their savings on only taking trips and they in Dubai on Christmas morning and showing that they're having coffee in Dubai, that's on them. They'll be
for
like,
them.
imagine you in Dubai and your so-and-so going on to, or you have a cousin who in a problem. The
Right.
cousin in the problem has nothing
things
to
are
do with
different.
you.
Exactly.
Has nothing to do with the person.
Exactly.
Okay, the person, you don't know how hard that person might have worked to plan that trip. So you are saying that they must
Precisely.
cut their nose off because their family member is in a jam, and you believe
Right.
that they should sacrifice what they were planning in order to help the family member. That may be what you believe, but why it is, it gives you the right to then comment and say, oh, this is what you're doing and so is happening with this person, so that's not your business.
Yeah,
You
it isn't.
understand?
It isn't.
They have to figure that out themselves.
And sometimes we need to, I like to say, look at things from different lenses. Yesterday, I saw one where someone said that people need to understand that there are levels to saying things, like levels to bragging. And so if you're at level 1, you shouldn't have the same energy as someone who's at level 10. So I commented on it and I said, well, perhaps it's faith, where we see those things that be not as though they are, because everyone is allowed to do that. So you cannot tell me that because I'm a single person, I cannot say, well, next winter I am going to be in whichever tropical place with my husband. You have no right to say, oh, but you don't even have a man yet. Okay. So
somebody
I
can
say
meet somebody and
things
get
in
married.
faith.
Yeah, somebody can
Yes,
get married
I can say things in faith.
in a month.
But sometimes people don't think about it like that, So sometimes we ought to stop and just look at the lens that you're using for things. And that's a good segue to talk about how we set our goals, because for work you may have goals that you look at using the SMART goals method, where you think of things that are they need to be measurable and attainable, and using that method. But then if you're looking at things where you want to do it for yourself, then perhaps you'd use the CLARE acronym. So you look at things that are collaborative, and you started by saying, you hold each other accountable. So when you go to a studio and you talk to a producer and you say, well, listen, this year, perhaps what you should look at is putting something on a vision list. Then when you go back the next time, you can ask him, well, did you give any thought to that? And so he is able to realize, oh my goodness, well, this might be a collaborative project. I might not have looked at it like that. But then you get that sense of accountability. Boy, well, Jagger's looking for me to do this. I may as well get it on there. And it could give him that little push that he's looking for.
Him or her.
Him or her, right?
Yeah, because there's a lot of female producers doing great work right now, quietly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listening is what the L in CLARE is for, and over here we like to advocate for listening actively.
Okay.
It is one of the things that we really harp on, because so much could change if people actually start listening and not just listen by the way. So if you listen to people and you understand what some of their goals are, what their visions are, then you can help them accomplish those things just by being an active listener. Then the E in CLARE is for empathy. Empathy is one of the things that we really, really lack as a society, as a people. In general, you have to daily just keep talking about empathy, because, it's one of the things that'll get us from point A to point B if we really put some work into it. The A is for making things adaptable, because you're not in a fixed situation, and nobody expected us to still be in this pandemic at this point.
Not at this point.
We have so much that we didn't have when we first started. We're still with, the masking and the social distancing, but now we have vaccines. We didn't have that 2 years ago. And so we've had to adapt, and we've been in this, sort of crouching position, waiting to just jump off for quite a while now. So we've been adapting, and we may have to continue to adapt some more. And you may have to do the same things with your goals, because I had plans to be traveling and so on, but those I had to taper those down a little bit and perhaps push them off a little further into the future than I wanted to, but which means they're adaptable. So I've done that. And then the R in CLARE is for rewards. So once you've done something and you've accomplished it, you got to where you want to be, then reward yourself. So, you can have that piece of cake, or you can perhaps take that trip, or, share it with somebody or whatever. But it gives you a sort of a sense of accomplishment, not just for, okay, I've done it, now what? You can plan and factor in that reward. And sometimes people don't do that. People don't do that at all. They just want to accomplish it, and then you get it and they're like, oh, okay, now what? And you have that sense of, you feel a void sometimes because you've done it, and then now there's like radio silence. You don't know what to do next. You know what I mean? So that is how I think we should approach personal goals and our personal vision board for this year and perhaps the next 2 years or so. Yeah,
for real. So that's what it is. So guys, give it some thought, and
absolutely,
you can, at your pace. I always like to say at your pace, because just for the benefit of time, how we try to keep this conversation and this podcast nice and tight for you guys to always be engaged. We would not I wouldn't ask Dr. Amala to run down her list, but her list is intensive. And
let me just praise my list, because I what I did, I have a list of 300 things that I would like to accomplish within the next 2 years, or I'd like to get done, or at least start attacking. So how I got to this list is because I listened to Steve Harvey do a little motivational thing, and he spoke about 2 verses in the Bible that guide him. So one of them is, you have not because you ask not. And the second one is to write the vision and make it plain. And so I've written down 300 things that I want to get to work on. So, some things are grand and some things are not as grand. So some of them are like trying different cuisines. So like every month I would try something different from a place that I've never had before.
Right.
So I have, this morning I was thinking that I should try something Nigerian. So they have something called egusi soup, which has okra and stuff in it. I'm going to try that.
Egusi?
Yes.
Wow.
So I have 12 different cuisines to try before the end of this year anyway. Then there are some smaller things. I want to take a cooking class with like an Asian chef. I want to play chess with my 6-year-old nephew. I want to travel to Machu Picchu. That's something that I've had on a bucket list. I actually have a bucket list. And guys, it's okay to change stuff or strike stuff off your bucket list. And I'll tell you one, I didn't tell you this before, but I'll tell you one that I've actually taken off my bucket list. And I have it written down physically, right? Initially, I thought that I wanted to be friends with a soca artist. And I'm not going to call the name, but I wanted to be friends with the soca artist because I thought this person needs to have somebody positive in their life. So, that would be me. Because they say like a lot of negative stuff, and, they feel like the world is against them or whatever. So I wrote down that I need to be friends with this person. I've changed my mind because I feel like it's going to suck my energy. And I'm not in that space where I want to dedicate. Well, yes, it could be nice and whatever, but I think for self-care, I'm not in that place anymore. So it's fine. They'll be okay. They'll be okay. They don't need me.
Let's hope. We can only hope, because the way how the soca diaspora looking, a lot of artists are not okay.
Well, but they came in with that energy though. So I don't know that
came in with which energy? Not being okay or being okay?
Yeah. The energy they currently have. The energy they have, they've had that. That's been them forever. And I'm like, wow, that is just so sad. Maybe,
coming in with an energy of not that's not soca. That's not soca artist. That's somebody who's singing soca. Soca artists by nature should be jovial people, because we produce jovial music. So at some point you have to separate self from music. Like you have to be comfortable making fun with yourself, because you have to do songs that might, and you have to understand that in the land of, if you're talking calypso and soca, it stemmed from in the origins of the art. It was based off of, as we say, rapso, picong. Yes. The speech of the tongue, the neighborhood man going around telling folk tales and stories. So it would have stemmed from, it's like a newsletter to the poor man who couldn't afford a newspaper. A man will come around and sing all the things that's going on in society to bring you up to speed. And it had picong in there. It will have when who will talk about people in the workplace and things that they do and things that they say, women, men, and the double entendre that will come with certain writing and the storytelling. That's how it started. So as a soca artist coming in to the art form, coming into the forum, I don't think it's a healthy exercise to come in if you have too much of a chip on your shoulder. It's not going to work for you.
Hey, I agree. No, absolutely no argument over here.
It's not gonna work at all if we're talking that. But whoever that artist, maybe we could pray and hope that he or she sees differently, and
I sincerely hope so.
And over time could come to a greater understanding of self, and maybe they need to buy the book, or you need to, maybe instead of being their friends, you should gift them debug.
Okay, I'll have you organize that.
I think that might be a better move. You can just and write a nice note, a personalized note saying that, hey, I enjoyed this part of your life, and I think, and this is my humble opinion, just hope they didn't find you on social media and curse you out after they get you.
Precisely. That is what I'm scared of. So
because that's also a possibility.
But guys, so this year I want you to think of using the clear goal setting method to, set your goals or get a vision board together or whatever. And do not stop trying to accomplish things because we're stuck in a pandemic. Adapt, and let's just see what we can do differently. Because it's not always going to be, roses and orchids and everything nice. You're going to have those days where you have to walk in a puddle. So think of that and adapt, and let's get 2020 you on and 2020 new, and let's just have a good time while we're doing it because we're still here.
And as hard as this exercise will be, guys, I am currently doing it, so it can feel as though you're not alone. Try and employ that whole positive outlook on most things, in terms of try and find the positive in all the negatives, and always look for that learning, that piece of learning in any experience. Like this morning, I can speak on personally. Today is what's the date?
This 10th.
Show is being recorded on the 10th of January. You all are not going to be looking at it on the 10th, but today was a very unique day for me. My morning started where I made a decision that I wanted to not do the hill. I felt as though I had a mentally draining last week and weekend. So I just wanted to, and after a nice podcast night before, which would have been Sunday night, we normally do a different podcast on Sunday. That one went well, and I felt as though, I had some things I had to do around the house, and let me just call it a night. Try and have an early night, get up. Got up this morning knowing that I wasn't going to do the hill. Decided, I will take that extra 20 minutes and drive down the road, only to be a protest that made a regular 20-minute drive turned it into an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Which could be annoying. Yes. And that is first thing in the morning for people to face. It's hard. Yeah. And then get the call from my co-worker, Rudy. Total accident. He totaled his car this morning.
Oh, wow.
So the day started off on a very heavy note. Exercise, what happened, how we can take that negative to into a positive, what the exercise, what we learned in that time. We learned that having good insurance is always good. Because he then had the car towed, him and his family got back home. They got a rental car to operate until he can get his mind wrapped around to what he's going to do, so he can continue with his day. That's one. Two, me realizing that protests, and I learned this because my other co-worker, Abby, she said something today, protest is never convenient.
Right.
It's never convenient. That is the cause of process, is because it should not ever be convenient.
There's an issue.
There's an issue. And if we are being fair, the reason for the protest was valid. It was a valid one. So me, in the moment, stoops in and, oh gosh, I'll go into traffic, I'll go to work. Looking back at it now, I said, my contribution was the hour and 40 minutes in traffic. That's me standing in solidarity because I was there not making a scene. And ironically, a lot of people too in the traffic, when they figured out why it was happening, they kind of like piped down. You wasn't seeing, you wasn't feeling a sense of, when people angry to get to work, you hear a lot of horn and aggressive driving. It was really a cruising and calm commute in the traffic. So by the time I got to work, my energy was no longer, it wasn't like I didn't walk in there pumped up and like, and angry. You understand? It wasn't that at all. So the learning exercise lessons in there is one, make sure I have good insurance. Two, protest is never comfortable or convenient. All right, and that's something I never really thought about. Right, and I never thought about it until this morning, to be quite honest. So so with that being said, look how easy is that. We're done.
Indeed,
we are done. So as Dr. Amala said, guys, try and employ some sort of list. Ask yourself, what are the things you want to accomplish in 2020 new? It's not a resolution per se. We're not telling you to stop doing something. Just try and find something that you think could make your life better, or how you can make somebody's life better, because you have to remember, everybody who listens and everybody in life is in different positions at different times. You might be in a position where you can lift a hand to help someone. think about doing that this year. As little as it is. We're not talking about, and I said help, and people hear the word help and automatically think it's financial. It doesn't always have to be financial.
At all.
It can be your expertise you can be a maths genius and never thought about helping the kids in your community in a particular age group advance in maths, and you can give them 2 hours of your day, 3 days a week, and you just might help a young child in maths. And I said that because just came out of paying tons and tons of money to help my daughter to SEA, and I'm thinking that if you really think about community and think about the village raising the child, I'm sure in every community there's somebody who's that skilled and could give up their time freely, where they could offer that service and say, here, who are the kids in this community that needs maths help at this particular age? I'm willing to do it 3 days a week and help a parent who might not be able to afford that. I'm just saying, let's think about it that way. So look at what you can do, what you have to offer, and try offering of yourself this 2020 new. You dig?
Yep.
So guys, until next time, you know we do it in fine style. We leave you like this. Any closing words?
No, I think that's it. I think you're good.
We gone.